What is going on, traders? We got a few things to discuss, but before we get into that, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, in my last video, I pretty much let you guys know that I was expecting a dump and pump scenario today. And this morning, we did get somewhat of a drop. It was nothing really significant to talk about. I mean, we dropped like $1 on the SPY as well as the Qs. And then from there, we pretty much recovered to the upside, ending the day at 520 and 441 on the triple Qs. So, what are my expectations heading into tomorrow? Well, first things first, it is important to note if you do pay attention to news and you find it significant that 9 Eastern Fed Chairman Bowman speaks, and then we have consumer sentiment at around 10 Eastern and inflation expectations at 10 Eastern as well. So, something to pay attention to in the morning if you do plan on trading. But as far as my expectations heading into tomorrow, as you guys can see, we have us a rising wedge. I don't make these things up. We rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, we rejected here as well. Tried to break, rejected once again. And what do I tell you guys about patterns? Usually, when we break below or break to the upside, depending on what type of pattern it is and direction we're trading, if we roll back into that pattern, chances are whatever direction we rolled back into, we're going to continue in that direction. And right now we rolled back to the upside, so there is chance for more upside heading into tomorrow for at least the SPY. Now, what are we looking at as far as targets? Well, first target is 521, as you guys can see right here. I wouldn't necessarily call this a significant target, but there is a lot of turbulence in this area. So 521, 522, 522.5, and then we can be looking as high as about 524. I'm not really looking any further than that as far as tomorrow, but 525 is on the table. That is a psych level, so it is, something to look out for. But 524 is the highest we could be looking at heading into tomorrow. As far as downside goes, if this falling wedge does decide to change its mind and play out, because that is a possibility, and given the size of the candles that are forming inside this falling wedge, where we're seeing very little action, and I'm assuming there's very little volume here, we could break below. The news comes in bad, or one of the Fed members says something crazy, and we break below, and we can start heading as low as 513, 512.5 on the spot. So, something to pay attention to as far as both sides of the spectrum. I'm leaning more on the bullish side in the morning, and then we see a sell off in the afternoon, and that does make sense considering that it's Friday, and I imagine, market makers will want to take profit. But the other side can actually happen as well, or vice versa can happen as well, where we drop and maybe pump to the upside heading into tomorrow evening. So those are your key levels to pay attention to, and those are your scenarios to pay attention to as well. Now, as you guys can see, again, don't make this up. We pretty much hit 522, and then we rejected. We broke through it. We broke back below. We hit it again. We rejected. Tried to break through again, rejected, and then I believe this is probably when Israel news started to kick in. I could be wrong there, don't quote me on that. And then we tried to retest it, but we ended up at 521, which is where a lot of turbulence is, and then we started to break down from there. So 521, 522, and we could be looking at 524 as our targets. And as far as downside goes, you want to see a break below 515, and then after 515, you're looking at a move towards 513, 512.5. So something to pay attention to. Now, I didn't mark the below levels, but you can see it here, right here. We bounced off here, we bounced here, we broke through, tried to break through again, and then we broke down we broke further to the downside. So yeah, 513, 512.5 is your key level as far as, or your ultimate level to the downside. We can head as low as about 509, 508, but I don't want to be too optimistic as far as downside, because this market is just constantly pumping. I mean, it's just pumping. I just feel like it's pumping off air, but I'll just leave that for you to decide as a trader. As far as triple Qs go, triple Qs, nothing much has changed here. I mean, from the last video, we're pretty much in the same area. As you guys can see, same thing. We rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, we rejected here. And as you guys can see, we're just having a hard time breaking through, which shows that we're clearly waiting on some type of news. Now, given with how small these candles are forming and just how weak these are, we could look at maybe a fake out to the downside where we see a move back to 339 and maybe break up to the upside. That is a possibility. I mean, as you guys can see, bulls are pretty much doing their best to prevent downside here. And what do I tell you guys all the time? Wicks tell you where sellers and buyers are, and right now buyers are pretty strong in this area. But as you guys can see, we're very limited in room here. We're very limited in space here, and I've said this in the last video. Everything is just very limited as far as space go. So the market has to pick a direction, and of course, we need news to pick that direction. And I think that news tomorrow is going to be the deciding factor on how we move. And I think that's pretty obvious. I don't think I'm telling you anything that you really don't know as far as how news works and how the market should move based on news, right? But as far as upside goes, I said in the last video, we could be looking at a move as high as 445 on the triple Qs. That is on the table. I'm not really looking further than that. So but if we just so happen to break above 445, 447 is on the table, and we can be looking at a move as high as 450. Now, do I expect 450 tomorrow? I don't. But given with how this market's just constantly been trying to push to the upside, I just honestly wouldn't be surprised. Now, 445, that's the target I'm sticking to as far as the upside. As far as the downside, given that that wedge does play out on the SPY, we could be looking at a move as low as 435, 433. All right. If we just so happen to break back into this, what is this? The bear flag, right? So if we break back into this bear flag, if we roll over, like I tell you guys all the time about rolling over, like breaking out and rolling back into patterns, if we just so happen to just break out, which we already did, but if we roll back into here, then chances are we're heading back towards that 433 target. All right. So something to pay attention to. If we break and below this trend right here, and as you guys can see, I don't make this up. We break below this trend, we retest here. We pretty much started to form it here, and we've been pretty much we broke out, we bounced here, bounced here, bounced here as well. So yeah, very significant trend right here. So if we break below this, chances are we're heading much lower on the triple Qs. If we just so happen to break out of here, and again, just to show you guys just how significant this is, we rejected here, rejected, rejected, rejected. So very significant trend here. And right now, each one, both of these are very important and will be the ultimate deciding factor on whether we go further to the upside or further to the downside. So again, pay attention to these, mark them out on your charts. As you can see, I don't make these levels up, I don't make these trend lines up. I mark them so you guys can see clear as day that they are very significant. All right. So 445 to the upside, and as far as the downside goes, you want to see 339 break. You break 339, you're looking at a move towards 337. And then after 337, you can start heading towards that 335, 334 target. You can go as low as 433. We break below 433, I would say 432.5 to be safe. Then, yeah, if you're bullish, you might want to start running for the hills. This is a very, very, very strong level. All right. I can't stress that enough. As you guys can see here, we bounced here, bounced here, bounced here, bounced, broke through, rejected, came back, rejected again. We broke through. So this is a very, very important level. I can't stress that enough. So mark this on your charts. All right. And that's what I have for the triple Qs. NASDAQ. I told you guys in the last video that NASDAQ still has more upside here, and that 18,070 level is clearly not trying to go anywhere. And as you guys can see, very significant level. We bounced here, bounced here, bounced here, bounced here. We broke through, rejected. I mean, it's pretty much repeating what the Qs did. They're essentially the same thing, right? But as you guys can see, we've pretty much been bouncing off here. And again, what's really bugging me is just how weak these candles are at this point. Like, look how weak they are. And we saw the same thing on the SPY. We saw the same thing on the triple Qs. So it's really tough to say. I do expect more upside, but if we do get more upside, I think it's going to happen fast. Like, I think it's going to happen like really fast. All right. And I will tell you, I will get more into why I think it's going to happen fast in a minute. But as far as NASDAQ, we still have more room. There is potential for a move to 18,500, which will pretty much give us our target to 445 on the triple Qs. Now, the recent highs on the NASDAQ is about 18,700. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, about 18,700, 18,710, give or take. So we could be heading as high as that. And again, whatever news comes in tomorrow, if the market decides to react to it, it can be pretty fast. I think it's going to be really fast. We're pretty liquidated right here in this area. and we're liquidated right here as well. So I think this move can happen fast. Let me actually mark this out so because I know I'm scrolled out a bit here, but he liquidated right here. He liquidated right here. I mean, so it can happen fast, guys. It really can. And after that, I don't think we're gonna make all-time highs just yet or new highs just yet. At least not tomorrow. Definitely not tomorrow. I would be genuinely shocked if that happens tomorrow. All right, but if anything was going to cause that, it would probably be CPI data next week. But we'll talk about that in another video. But that's what I'm looking at as far as the NASDAQ. We still have more space to the upside. If we break below 18,070, then your next key level is about 18,000, 17,990, give or take. And as you can see, very significant level. We break below this, then yeah, you're bullish. You might want to start running for the hills. All right. So something to really pay attention to. As far as upside, we break back below, not below, but 18. We break above 18,080. I would say 18,300. Then chances are we're going to start heading towards 18,350, and we can head as high as about 18,500. So that is what you are paying attention to as far as in Q. Looking at the ES. Now, ES is heading towards this weekly supply and demand zone. And this is why I'm saying we're looking at a very limited room here. So, whatever this news, whatever comes in, whether good or bad, is really going to be crazy. I really think so. All right. We have very limited room. And I told you guys that chances are we're going to be heading towards 5250 on the ES. We went as high as about what 5240 range. So we still have more space here. And we could probably head higher. I mean, that is on the table. I'm not saying, 5250 is the end all be all, but if we start breaking above 5250, the bears are going to panic. They're going to get stopped out of their position, and chances are we're just going to head higher at that point. We can start heading back towards 52. I mean, not 52, but 5300, give or take. So something to look out for as far as ES. And again, I mean, I can keep marking these levels for you guys, but as you guys can see, I mean, very significant level at around 5250 right here. You rejected here, you rejected here, you kind of rejected here, you started consolidating here, and then you broke through, broke back down, you broke through again, broke back down, and then started playing games around this level. Broke down, you rejected here as well. So, I mean, very significant level. I mean, and we can honestly just go a little bit above it. I mean, there is, a lot of action happening here. We broke through it a few times, so it's probably butter at this point. If you've been following my channel for a while, then you know what that means. It's pretty much just melted butter, and we could probably just break through it pretty easy. All right. So 5250 is your key level, like your main level to look out for as far as the ES. And I believe I went over, yeah, I pretty much went over everything as far as the futures. Now, looking at the VIX. So this is why I think this move can happen fast. In my last video, I told you guys that 12.6 is we can start heading as low as 12.6 on the VIX. And your next target is 12.4. All right, 12.4, 12.35, give or take. And as you guys can see, I don't make this up. We rejected here, or we bounced here, bounced here, bounced here. We came back down, bounced here again. So it looks like we're trying to head there again. I think if we get there, all right, if we get there, and let me like draw a picture for you guys, because this is why I think it's going to happen fast. If we get there, right, we will be like, let me draw this out a little bit more. But once we get to 12.4, 12.3 range, I think we're going to bounce from there. I genuinely do. Maybe we head as low as 12, but I genuinely think we're going to start bouncing from there. And if you don't know, the VIX moves inverted of the market moves inverted of the VIX. So that means when the market goes up, the VIX goes down and vice versa. But as you guys can see, again, this is a very significant level on the VIX. That is why I think this move, whatever this move is going to be, is going to happen fast. And we could look at a potential sell off tomorrow evening if the VIX heads down here. I really don't think the VIX is going to go lower than this. Maybe it teases a little bit. Maybe it psychs everybody out. But I don't think that's all going to happen in one day where we just break down on the VIX and the market just skyrockets. All right, I could be wrong, but this is a very significant level. I don't see the news that's coming in tomorrow to be enough for us to just break further down on the VIX. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not much of a news trader or anything like that, but something to pay attention to. Mark this area out on your charts. 12.4, 12.35 range, all right? Right here, okay? Mark this out in your charts. Pay attention to the VIX. It will tell you everything you need to know. SQQs. If you don't know what the SQQs are, they move inverse of the market. And as you guys can see, we're still at that range that I was talking about in the last video. Again, don't make this up. We rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, therefore forming this trend. And as you guys can see, we are having a hard time breaking below this trend. All right. So that shows just how powerful and significant this is. We're just pretty much consolidating here. Now, can we go lower? It's possible. All right. Given if the VIX does go lower, then chances are, and the market does go higher, then obviously there's a chance that the SQs can go lower here, where we can look at a move like this, maybe towards 10. And if we zoom out, is somewhat of a significant level, all in this area here. I could pretty much maybe draw the support level here, but hopefully you guys get the idea, right? We head here, maybe bounce, maybe head higher, or we continue down. I mean, that is possible. But do I think it's likely? I don't. I genuinely don't. Okay. And I could be wrong there. But overall, hopefully you guys are getting the point here. Tomorrow, I do think there's potential for more upside in the morning based on whatever news we get. And I think towards close we start seeing profit taking being taken place. I don't think that's too crazy to think because it's Friday. We've been pumping all week. I mean, I wouldn't really call it a pump, but we've been jumping all week or moving to the upside all week. So really something to pay attention to. Me personally, and this is just me, I think it's best to play it cautious. I really do. Maybe wait 30 minutes until open, see what the market does. Maybe wait 30 minutes after the news because I believe the news is at 10 Eastern, right? So maybe wait 30 minutes after the news, after everything's pretty much is digested, and then make a decision from there. If we're looking at unusual wells, we got 520 calls, so nothing really came in. Okay, nothing really crazy came in as far as price targets on unusual wells. I mean, we can look at the QQs as well. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Now, one thing that did come in is this 415 put, but being that it's pretty much solo here, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. It has a decent premium. It has about a 3.5 million premium. So, and it's a sweep as well. So, something to consider, but for now, I would take it with a grain of salt until I see more orders coming in around this range. And 415, crazy enough, is a significant level on the triple Qs. So, but we'll get into that in another video if we ever see downside in this market. But as you guys can see, I mean, nothing too crazy. I mean, we got 450 calls, but the premium is 600K. 443 calls for next week. 444 calls. But most of these premiums are pretty low if if I'm trading it. Okay, they're pretty low. I really would take them with a grain of salt. Um, 439 calls, 442 puts. So nothing that really stands out besides this 415 put. So yeah, heading into tomorrow, I just think whatever happens is going to happen pretty fast. If we see upside, I think that's going to happen fast. If we see downside at open, that's going to happen fast. And depending on where we are, depending on where we end up, we could just immediately recover. All right. So sorry I couldn't give you more there. I really tried my best. I wasn't intending to make a video today, but you guys have been really supportive lately, and I really want to be persistent with this YouTube thing. So really appreciate the support. If you have any questions or you may agree or disagree, feel free to comment below. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't see something. Feel free to let me know your thoughts below. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to automatically agree with them, but you are free to have your own opinion on where you think the market is going to go. Discord link is in the description below. It's only $30 a month. We do crypto, we do forex, we do stocks, all that fun stuff. So feel free to join the Discord community. And that is all I have. And until the next video, traders, have a good one.